You're listening to the Real Estate Runway podcast, powered by Quattro Capital, where we are all about alternative business and investment strategies to help you amplify life and maximize wealth. Here's your host, the recovering engineer turned multifamily investor, Chad Sutton.
Hello again, Real Estate Runway family. Today, we are going to focus on the crowdfunding concept. So we're going to have a guest on named Mr. Levi Brackman. It is spelled Levi, but pronounced Levi. Levi Brackman is the co-founder and CEO of a company called Invone, which is primarily a crowdfunding portal for operators and investors alike. It's a two-sided marketplace. What's interesting here is we're going to talk a little bit about the typical types of syndications, which are your 506B and your 506C exemptions that the SEC has laid out. But we're also going to talk about the Reg A, which is kind of the far extreme going to a public offering. Think what Grant Cardone is doing, people like that. In between those, you have this concept of Reg CF, and this is the crowdfunding concept. So let's get into this and see how this will benefit both investors and operators alike. Here we go. All right. Real Estate Runway family, welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Runway podcast. I'm your host, Chad Sutton. We are powered by Quattro Capital as always, and I'm joined today with a very interesting guest, Mr. Levi Brackman of Invone. So this gentleman is going to talk to us a little bit about the crowdfunding industry today and how we can use it as operators and what you need to know about it as an investor. So he is the founder and CEO of the company Invone, which is a two-sided marketplace for real estate equity. And a little known fact, he is the author of a bestseller book called Jewish Wisdom for Business Success that is actually translated in 8 different languages around the world. Still the number 1 bestseller in Poland, I believe, if you mentioned that. So Levi, welcome to the show. Happy to have you here. Really excited for the value we're going to bring to our guests today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Just a quick point out, I wish it was the number 1 bestseller. It is a bestseller there, but I'm not sure it's the number 1.
It is a bestseller. Well, just take credit where credit is due, right? All right, Levi. Well, do me a favor real quick and just introduce yourself to our guests. Tell me, what walks of life you've come from and what got you into starting a business in this world. And then we'll get into the meat of the episode.
Yeah, so I'm originally from London, England. I moved to the United States in 2005. At that time, I was a rabbi. So I had my own congregation. I started a brand new congregation in the foothills just west of Denver. And, that was 2005. I did that all the way up till 2017, 2018. And then in 2019, I moved to Connecticut. Now, sometime along the way, I got a job in corporate America and got sucked into that for about 4 years. But I even when I started and moved from England to the United States to start my own congregation, I called it entrepreneurial rabbinics. I was never one to actually want to necessarily fit into a massive organization. I did that for 4 years. I enjoyed it, but I have an itch to kind of do something different and go off my own and create new things and solve new problems. Not saying you can't do that in corporate America, but I wanted to solve this problem. The problem I'm trying to solve as far as real estate is concerned is how can we allow people to invest in real estate from all walks of life, not just wealthy people, but just literally anybody. And also the other part of it, which I was trying to help solve, is how can regular homeowners basically find liquidity for their own home equity. So while currently in the platform which I've built is not solving that exact problem yet, but once you build a marketplace where equity is bought and sold, anyone should be able to sell their equity. So that is something which I also wanted to solve for people. So I started Invone in 2020, right before COVID hit, incorporated in February. COVID hit, wasn't sure what was going to happen, and decided to leave my corporate job in September 2020 and went all in on it.
Fantastic. And what better timing, right, to start a business than September 2020? So I say that jokingly because I also started a venture in 2020. And so it's all worked out pretty well. But glad to see you're still here, still doing it, which means you are on that track as well. So Levi, tell me a little bit about crowdfunding versus the other syndication types out there and why it's significant, and maybe a little bit about why it's different.
So crowdfunding really means when you're trying to raise money from more than one player. You're trying to raise from two, three, four, five. That's a crowd already. We'll say two is a company, three is a crowd. So whenever you're trying to raise from more than three or four people, that's already crowdfunding. And there are different types of crowdfunding. So, but key to understand about crowdfunding, you could do charity crowdfunding, for example, that exists. The people GoFundMe campaigns as well, and you could crowdfund in order for people to buy a physical asset. But when you're crowdfunding for real estate, typically what you're selling is a piece of an LLC which owns the underlying asset. In that case,
That's
you kind
right.
of hit up against something called the Howies Rule, and the Howie Rule says that whenever you're investing in a joint enterprise with the expectation that the profits are going to come about as a result of the work of others, not your work. In other words, you're not actively working in the LLC. That is considered a security. So therefore, what people are selling when it comes to real estate is technically, especially if it's to an LP, if it's to a GP, it's not the case. But if it's to an LP, limited partner, which means that they're not involved day to day in the business, they're expecting that the profits come as a result of the efforts of others, and therefore they're buying a security. When that happens, the Securities and Exchange Commission gets involved.
So you're
Technically,
telling me my investors are expecting a profit on their money?
I, I,
I'm just kidding. For everyone who's a Quattro investor, totally kidding with that comment. But yes, what Levi
yeah, without
is
a doubt.
outlining, what he's outlining here is a very, very, very key sniff test with Howie's rule of, anytime you are giving money to someone with the expectation of a return, you have created a security, whether you register it or not. So that's hurdle
Yeah,
number one. So
yeah,
let's keep going.
that's yeah. So if they don't have an expectation of a profit, and that means that they're basically giving it to you as a non-profit. If your investors are doing that, I think you've got a good gig. But if they're expecting that the profits that are made out of it are going to be shared with them, then yes, that hits the how it will. So and therefore they have to do either they have to go and register with the Securities and Exchange Commission, which would be an IPO, or they have to use some kind of exception, which means there's an exception to the law which says that under these circumstances, you don't have to actually do that. So a lot of people, when they get into real estate, don't understand these fundamentals. So I just start off with that. It's really important to understand that it's a security, and you have to register it unless you're using an exception. Now, what are the exceptions that are used in? And I'm not a lawyer, so none of this is legal advice, but this is kind of the lay of the land. There are a bunch of exceptions which people use for this in order to be able to raise. One of them is something called a 506B, right? 506B, really all that is chapter and verse of a law. Law 506B, it's like a 506 and subverse B, right? And so 506B says you can raise from without having to register with the Securities and Exchange Commission, but you can't do any advertising, right? And then you're allowed to have, I think, 30 or 35 what they call non-accredited investors, which means people who don't have either $1 million of net worth outside of their private residence, or $200,000 in income a year for themselves, or $300,000 if they're a couple, right? So you're allowed to have 35 of those, but you could not have advertised them, and they had to know you somehow beforehand. Some other people use a 506C, which means you can advertise, right? You can do if you want, but you have to make sure that whoever comes in, they're accredited, right? So you have to do some kind of third-party test to make sure they're accredited.
Right. I think a key difference there in those two. And by the way, 98%, I would say today. Tell me if this is wrong, but 98% of syndications done today fall in those first two rules, including the ones we do, 506B or C. And I think the difference is in 506B. Another key distinction: the onus of proving accreditation of that investor is on the investor in a 506B, whereas in a 506C, you take on that burden, but you can advertise, right?
Yeah, precisely. And the key thing here is, like, our attorney, he says, probably the SEC is not going to come after you if you but if something goes south and you didn't keep all these laws, then your investors could sue you and say, hey, there wasn't the right disclosures made, or this, that, and the other. So basically, as a
That's right.
syndicator, as an owner operator, it's probably very important that you make sure that you keep to these laws, because you open yourself up to potential legal hazards if you don't. So then you have the 506. Then so 506B, 506C. Yes, most people in real estate know those two things today: 506C, 506B. What's less known is Reg CF. Now, people know of Reg A because there are people who are doing Reg A's out there, like that fellow I mentioned earlier, very well-known guy. He does a Reg A, and he goes out there and he sells them to everybody. Reg A says that it's kind of a mini IPO. You're registering with the Securities and Exchange Commission. It takes you about 6 months to register, and then you can sell it on a website. So you can start up your own website and sell these securities. And the SEC knows what they are. They're heavily regulated, and you've answered a lot of questions about it. And now you can raise from anybody. So there's a Reg A, which has become popularized as well, that people are doing. Then in between Reg 506C and B and Reg A, there's this thing called Reg CF, and that's crowdfunding. And that stuff, crowdfunding portals, it's actually the only asset class, the only thing which I just read this on TechCrunch yesterday. Reg CF is growing this year. Investments in almost every single other type of investment is going down. Reg CF continues to grow this year. It will be its best year ever for 2020, 2021. Sorry, 2022 will be its best year ever, according to TechCrunch. And what that means is that you can basically offer up to $5 million to anybody, and you can also advertise, as long as it's done through something called a funding portal. A funding portal is the legal designation of a company such as Invone. Invone, with the full name, is Invone Funding Portal LLC. That is a funding portal. We're registered with the SEC. We're a member of FINRA. And if you want to raise money from the public, you can do it through a company such as Invone. Now, other people might know very well there's a company called Start Engine, and there's a guy called Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. He's the face of Start Engine. Start Engine is also a funding portal. They focus on startups. Startups can raise money from the public. We are a funding portal, and we allow you to raise money from anybody, but only for real estate.
I see. So it's kind of a same kind of product, but different audience. So, for example, what was the name of the company?
Start Engine.
Start Engine, right? Start Engine is more of a crowdfunding for venture capital. Yeah.
For startups.
For startups, yes.
So startups who want to raise money, so venture money but it's from the public, not from venture capitalists.
Very good. Okay, mini venture capitalists, if you will. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
exactly.
So I think now that we've had our lesson in the rules that be, we've kind of said, okay, well, we know 506Bs they're probably the hardest, because they, you really have to do a lot of work on the relationship side up front, and there is no advertising. 506C, it's kind of a little less hard if you have a lot of accredited investors, and you can attract that kind of individual. Reg A is probably super painful, but even easier to raise from, because you can raise from the world, anybody. But there's a lot of heartache to get that in place. And then we have Reg CF, which is this new crowdfunding rule that allows you to basically let a company like Invone do the hard work of getting FINRA approved and everything of that sort. And then we would do business with you as an operator. Is that how that works?
No, you would use our platform to raise money. So if you wanted to raise money from the public, just anybody, you would come and you would go through a process of listing that deal through our platform, and now you can raise from anyone and you can advertise. So there's certain limitations in the advertising. You can't say anything misleading, and you can't say anything which is promissory, and that is maybe a little bit stricter for a Reg CF than it would be for a 506C, but you could still advertise it.
Very good.
The benefit for the investor is that it's open to anybody. You can be non-accredited. A lot of the deals out there today are available only to accredited investors. That's the one. The benefit for the issuer or the sponsor is that they can raise from anybody, including non-accredited investors, up to $5 million a year.
Up to $5 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's $5 million a year per per deal or per
No, per
syndicator?
sponsor.
Per sponsor.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and that. So it used to be the reason why Reg CF is new for real estate is because up until March 2021, it was $1 million a year, and so
I
no one
see.
really looked at that. That was way too small for most people. But as it went up to $5 million a year, it became much more relevant.
That makes sense. So, do you see those limitations on capital per year continuing to increase as this gains popularity, or I guess that's more of a looking into the future question? But how do you see it?
I think it should. It should. Look, there's more and more money is pouring into Reg CF offerings and Reg A offerings. It's growing in popularity.
I see. Okay. Well, very good. So, if you will kind of walk us through, the how of it. So, tell us a little bit about Invone and what the process looks like from an investor and an operator or developer perspective.
So for an investor, it's really simple. It's just like going shopping. You show up and you take a look. If you could have, depends how you found out about it, right? If you found out about it from the sponsor through their Facebook ads, etc., you'd probably land directly onto their page. You basically put the amount of money you want to invest in it. You check out, you send the money. It take you 5 minutes. You sign a subscription agreement along the way, which means you type in your name, first name and last name, and you're good to go. You'll then get a bunch of emails and follow up, etc. So, but you'll be kept informed. But that's if you're the investor. Really simple, very quick and painless kind of way to invest. If you are a sponsor, there are some things you need to go through. So you probably want to make sure you have an LLC. If not, we can help you form one. You want to make sure you have an LLC agreement. If not, we can help you figure that out. You also have to file something called a Form C with LLC, which is basically a PPM, but in the version that the SEC wants to see it. You file that, set up an escrow account. We do some background checks on you, and you have to then also at the same time create a page on our platform. So basically a listing page, which explains your deal or more information about it, and then you're ready to go live. We do ask most sponsors to be able to get a soft commit, a bunch of soft commits before they go live. So just to make sure it's going to be a successful campaign.
Very good. And so this process is kind of an initial vetting process for the sponsor, making sure you're set up properly and you get your PPM, private placement memorandum, in place in the correct SEC format. And then after that, it's pretty much you're cleared for as many deals as you want to do up to a 5 million cap, and then you can start again next year. Is that how it works?
Well, you're not cleared for as many deals you want to do. Each deal will require its own Form C, etc.
That's a clarity point. Okay, so you kind of qualify per listing you want to put out there, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. All right. Well, what should and I guess as far as doing business with Invone, what should an operator be looking for as far as capabilities and are there any specific compensation agreements, things of that sort that we need to look at before getting in place, and how does that work?
So yeah, there's a couple of things. I'd also mention that we're moving into helping people connect people to raise capital also from private equity, from family offices, and also debt. So we're looking to do that as well. What we realize is once you've created that one profile of your listing of your deal, that's good for raising debt and equity. So so there are options also for us to kind of connect you in those situations as well. And then in terms of for the Reg CF part of it, though, if you're going Reg CF and you want to raise from the public, and I urge people to look at that very seriously, you'll probably need to figure out your marketing as well. So unless you have a following, there are some people out there who we're talking to who already have a following inbuilt. So people who have very large podcasts, they're best-selling authors, etc. Plus, they're also real estate people, and therefore they have an inbuilt audience. They can figure out all the marketing on their own. But then if you're a person who needs to figure out marketing, we have partners who we can connect you with who will help you out with the marketing as well. So there's going to be some marketing that you'll need to do of your deal. So the clarity I'm trying to offer here is that we don't come inbuilt with all your investors, right? We're not a bank. We help you raise money from the public, but it's you raising the money from the public. right? It's like you come on TikTok and you say, hey, where's my audience of millions of people? Well, you need to create the content, and you need to kind of make sure you get that audience. It's a similar kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very helpful. So the way this is set up is this is really the mechanism, the vehicle, the portal, right?
Yeah.
And you will help the client get set up on that portal and legally operating on that portal. But then from there, the actual equity raise really becomes go out and find the investors, use social media, use podcasts, use whatever it is you need to do. So is there also a marketplace where people might come on to shop around and might discover you
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we market the marketplace, obviously, right? And we pay Facebook ads and Google ads, et cetera, each month for that. But we can't, and it's illegal for us to market the individual deals.
Sure.
So
That makes
unlike
perfect sense.
TikTok are making a lot of money promoting each video. You can pay them $10 a day to promote your individual video nowadays.
Yeah,
We actually couldn't do that. That would be illegal for us.
that makes sense. Okay, very good. Well, this has been a tremendously helpful and insightful alternative to raising money that it sounds like is growing in popularity, day by day and even year by year. It sounds like it's going to have the best year yet this year, we're hoping. So
We're trying to
fantastic.
ride that wave. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, so we have a lot of operators that listen to this podcast. How would, some of these operators get in touch with you and maybe have an initial consult, see if this is right for them?
Yeah. So they can email me. I'll give you my phone number is 203-889-5384. That's, by the way, 203-889 Levi, Levi, which is how you spell my name. So if you want to, and so that's my number, and that's also the number of the company. So 203-889-5384, or it's Levi at Invone.com. That's Levi at INVOWN. Invone stands for invest and own. By the way, so it's owners and investors, two-sided marketplace.
Yeah.
So Invone.com. And that's how to reach, or go on Invone.com and check us out. You can.
Fantastic. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a little chat there. You can kind of hit us up on the chat on Invone.com as well.
Fantastic. Well, folks, that will be down in the show notes. Just simply scroll down and you'll find everything you need there for your browsing needs. Now, before we let Mr. Levy go, Mr. Brackman, we're going to have to ask a couple of questions that we ask every guest on the show. You ready for those? All right, let's do it. Okay, so real quickly, tell us, what is your superpower in this business, Levy?
I think my superpower is that I have a purpose. I wake up each day and I think about things I'm grateful for. And one of the things I write down almost every single day is I'm grateful for the fact that I have a purpose. So I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that keeps me going. It keeps me motivated. And even on the hard days, and sometimes we hit those hard days, I've got a purpose.
I agree. And I think you clearly articulated that purpose, and it's really helping people, figure out how they can gain access to these investments that previously just weren't available to, not ultra high net worth individuals. So very good. Very good. Well, let's take it back a step here and give me a little bit of dirt, Levy. I mean, what is your biggest failure to date, and what did you learn from it?
Dude, like I've got a go-to one for this. So I'll go to my go-to one for it. When I was 12 years old and I was turning bar mitzvah, I was becoming. You know what a bar mitzvah is?
I do.
A lot of people have been to bar mitzvah. So the bar mitzvah boy has to do a lot of. There's a lot of showmanship, etc., that the bar mitzvah boy does, and they have to prepare for it. Frankly, it's very stressful for a 12-year-old. I was overly confident. I'm like, don't worry, I can figure this out, and I wasn't prepared. And I got up there to read from the scroll, from the Torah, from the Bible, and I messed it up, man.
In front of everybody, right?
In front of everyone, in front of my own friends, my parents' friends, the whole community. And people were nice about it, but I knew that I had really kind of botched it. So, that was.
So, what did you learn from that, Levy?
Well, I learned never to be overconfident, and always to make sure one's prepared for a big moment. And if you're not prepared, that moment doesn't come back, right? So, bar mitzvah, you have one bar mitzvah in your life. You turn 13 once. So often, for the big moments, one has one shot at them, and if you're not prepared and you mess it up, it doesn't come back. So I learned to be prepared. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but I'm mindful of it very much.
That's a pretty key piece of advice. I think that may find its way into the quotable moment for the episode. So very good. All right, Levi. Well, thank you for being on the episode today. I really appreciate the knowledge, the insight, and the opportunity that you've laid out here for, not only investors alike, but the operators who are sourcing capital for these deals and making these things available to the general public. So I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone. This has been another episode of the Real Estate Runway podcast. Until next time, over and out.
We hope this episode was insightful and brought value to your day. If so, please be awesome and leave us a 5-star review. Find out how Team Quattro can help you at thequattroway.com. Until next time, this is the Real Estate Runway podcast.